Yes guys, cheers for checking out this episode. So they finally arrived. So as we all now know, the Schumacher CAT PB is now out, and yes, a lot of people have known about this. They've heard the rumours, they've seen the pictures and whatnot, but last week Schumacher had the cake picture that we all know and love, and that meant that this was out. And then obviously their video explaining the car, quickly going through it with Trish was out, so it'd be worth watching the Schumacher video. So I've got one. We're going to get this unboxed, get it built, and it is actually going to be my runner. Yes, I'm not mad keen on the modern stuff, but we're heading into winter now. So our club, we've got one more outdoor meeting, and then we move indoor into the carpet. I've always just run the vintage stuff indoors, but our club do a 13.5 Blinky modern 4-wheel drive class. I wanted to do it last year, couldn't quite get round to buying the CAT L1R Evo, I think it was the previous one. So I've got this. This is going to get running indoors, like I say, not for about another month. But it's fine. I need to get the body sent away to be painted. I've got an idea on what I'm going to do. But yeah, it's finally here. So big shout out to the lads from Model Sport. They got this out to me in good time. And yeah, obviously with it being a modern car, I don't know vast amounts of modern car stuff. But in the box, it comes with your pretty much your standard Schumacher box setup. So nice picture up on the front there. Puppy Paint was the actual painter that painted up the body shell, so I'm guessing there's probably going to be people that want an exact replica. I'm toying with the idea, but for now I've got my own idea. But that's it. So up on your box you get a nice picture up there. Up on the side it's got some of the various options, hop-ups, etc. that you can get. Again, it's not something that I've been looking at. Up on the side there, it's just got the part number, so it's K222, and that's it. Up on the back it tells you all about the car, so I won't go through the whole spec on there, but it's all there for you to see and on the Schumacher website. So two versions of this are available. You can get the PB, the mod spec PB and the dirt spec PB. So I went for the mod spec purely for the fact that after looking at what's on the car and what they're for, the mod spec comes with the slipper, which is going to be more suited for carpet where it's going to get raced. It's also got like a front brake. I can't remember what they call it now, but basically it'll mean that as you're coming into a corner, a normal 4-wheel drive, as you brake, it's going to load up the outside front tyre, and that's going to weight it and potentially give it more grip or make it push through. This basically means that the front will brake less than the rear, so in essence it will mean that the car's going to not be as prone to sort of like diving on that front wheel. This is all stuff that a good racer will know and understand. Me, yeah, everyone that knows me when I race, I'm not into that. So what I'll do, we'll quickly whip the camera over, we'll get this unboxed, see what you get, and then we'll start the build. Like I said, the build video, it's going to be, I'll jump back to it after steps, let you see how it all goes together, and once it's all done, there's a few things that I'll just pick up on. I was fortunate enough to have a good look at these 2 weeks ago. It was at the Robin Hood where Mitch Fidlin was at the Nationals with the Predator. I was chatting to some of my Schumacher mates, and I got to have a good look at them there. Again, couldn't do a video about it all there because it just doesn't pick up the sound on my camera indoors. But enough waffle, let's get this unboxed. All right, so here we are. We're all ready to get unboxed. I'll just show now. Obviously, modern cars don't come with tyres because it will depend on what you're going to be racing on, etc. So I also ordered a set of pre-glued tyres. So for the backs I went for the CAT because these are what we normally run. So I'll be trying these for the first race, as well as I think it's the Azami rear tyre, not too sure. And then for the front, I went for the Shards. I've run these before indoors and they seem pretty good. They seem to have a good wear to them. So again, got these with the car from Model Sport. And like I say, I went for the pre-glued ones because it's just easier. I don't have to faff about. But you do get a set of wheels in the car, I believe anyway. So that's them out of the way. So let's have a look. So it's just your typical modern car setup, and it's pretty much just how the Schumachers come now. First things out, the body. Again, I do believe this is an all new body, and there are various bodies that will have different aero features on it. This one's got some ducts that you could potentially cut out, and I may cut out just to help with the motor staying cool. Motor, by the way, obviously I've gone for the Amy Booth models, 13.5. I always go for the stock spec ones. I don't know the massive difference, but the stock spec one's slightly lighter, so that's predominantly why I go for that. And yeah, there you go. You've got your wheels there, so you've got your set front, set of rears, and then all the bag parts. So if you've not built a Schumacher before, basically you have bags A to E, what, etc. And in each one there's a step. So the separate bag there, so you've got your oils. So you've got shock oil and diff oil. And then that looks like suspension parts, arms, etc. That's the suspension. And then the rest of it, your carbon parts. So you get some nice carbon parts in there. The shock towers aren't carbon, fairly sturdy and thick, but you can get more carbon upgrades, which I'll probably come to as the car is built and I'm actually running it. You get these with the Cougar 2 Works. These are nice to have. Set of shims. So the chassis, so yeah, it's basically just a really narrow, not thin, machined alloy. So it's I think it's 7041 aluminium, but yeah, I mean, it looks like the chassis of old with all the holes in it, but they all serve a purpose, and there's a few extra that we'll cover later on at the end of the video. There's your wing. So obviously the modern wing, got the gurney parts you can cut down, and then window masks, sticker sheet, and then the instructions. So I'll get the box out of the way. So if you've not done a modern car, pretty much I think all of them are like this. I know the X-rays are, but this will cover both cars, so it'll cover the dirt spec and the mod spec. So what you need to watch out for, we've got an amendment, is where it comes up parts like this per se, where it will have mod spec and then the dirt spec. So it'll just tell you that you're running that shock oil or that shock oil, depending on which one you're actually building. It does tell you there as well. So each individual build will have different sections, and you may even find that there's whole sections. So yeah, so dirt spec, build. But yeah, the instructions, like everyone else's, they're all nicely laid out. I do love the exploded diagram. It does make part finding nice and easy. So yeah, so there is a supplement, so just make sure that that's in there. Dirt spec. So I don't know what the amendment initiates to. There are some things circled in red, but we'll have a look at that as and when we come to it, and I'll let you know what was needed. So page 5 is the first one. Yeah, so page 5. Don't see what the big difference is. It does have a part number there. 0.54 of 2.5 by 10 countersunk. So yeah, obviously just make sure that you are looking at this or just covered. So that's probably 1.05 grams of oil added in. 1.05 grams of oil. So yeah, don't know what the difference is there, to be honest, but we've got it in the page where we need to be. So what I'll do, I'll get on with the build, and then once I've done certain parts, I'll just keep jumping back in. Obviously it starts off with the shocks. It's predominantly down to the fact that you need to thread lock your screw into the end of the shock shaft, and you need to leave it for at least 20 minutes before you're going to be wanting it submerged in the shock oil. So it's nice to see that they give you that, make them up first, and then obviously they won't be fitted till later on. But I'll stop waffling now and I'll get on with the build. All right, so jumping into the build. Bag A's done, and not a lot to show for it, to be honest. So we've got the diffs made up and feeling lovely, and the shocks, I've not put the oil in the shocks yet, so I've got the oil put in these yet, but it just means that the thread lock's got more time to go off. I'll do that right at the very end of the build. So the sheet seems to refer to the dirt spec for that diff build, and I think it's just excuse me, it's just the oil. So it's 300 on there, that one's 200, so I think it's just referring to that. There is an issue with the diff build, well, not an issue, just another issue in the instructions. So up on here it tells you that you need 3 O-rings, shims and output pins. You're only building the 2 diffs, so you only need 2 of for all of this. It's purely down to the fact that the dirt spec one, the centre differential is the same as the actual diffs, so you'll be building 3 of all this on the dirt spec. The mod spec, you're only building 2, so it does say you're only building the 2 there, so it's just an error in the manual. So obviously if you're looking and you're thinking, oh, I need 3, it's not that they're missing, you just don't need them, so you can just skip all that because you don't have the extras in the bag. So moving up onto bag B, got all the camber links to build. Chassis goes together, building up the chassis all the way, shock towers, diffs in, and then bag C, you start on the steering assembly. So what I'll do, I'll get all this knocked out and then jump back and we'll have a look. Right, we are at the end of bag B. So it starts off building your camber links. So you build all of them. You're only using the top camber links, the front and rear ones, sorry, not the at the first part of this build. Yeah, so the diffs are all in, diff housings, front and rear shock mounts are all on. Yeah, what you may notice, I think I've got the dim shift up how they need to be, but just a little pointer on these bits here, you'll see that they do have a little bit of wiggle. This is meant to be there, they're not meant to be sort of like absolutely solid. That's how they're meant to be. I was chatting to one of the team drivers, and it's basically just that little bit of movement just means when you're taking your slipper or centre diff out, when you're going in there, makes it a little bit easier, and just a little bit of movement is meant to be there. So that little bit of movement on the front and rear, that's meant to be there, so don't worry, you haven't done anything wrong. So the build was absolutely fine. The only thing to note on your amendment sheet, so obviously I couldn't see it there, so basically it tells you that you're using the screws A, B, C, A on the front, but you're actually using the C's. So rather than being a 6mm, they are 10mm that go in. I did actually have 2 of the 6mm screws, the countersunks, left over. There was 6 there, but there's 2 used at the front, 2 used at the rear, and there was no mention of them where they go in. So obviously where it's A there, That's on the amendment. But yeah, I only used 4 out of the 6 that were in the bag. So whether that was meant to go somewhere, but I've been back through it and I can't see where they go. So hopefully it's just a few little extra screws going in. But yeah, so the next one is page 15 on there. So we'll slot that in. So that's ready for page 15. But yeah, absolutely fine going together. The little race tips that you get. So the main one, using the axle grease when you're putting the screws in. I did find that I am doing that now because it is a lot harder to get in. I didn't need them on the turnbuckles. They're nice and easy to go together. But yeah, just a small bit of grease helps the screws go in. Obviously, when you take it apart and go back in, it'll be absolutely fine. I mean, you could, even if you wanted, run a threader through them. But that's it. So B's done. We're moving on to step C. So I'll get step C smashed out and then we'll jump back and see where we're up to. Right, we are at the end of bag C. So basically bag C, it's your steering and then all your arm hub assembly. And that's where your other adaptation or update comes in. So basically it's the change from here. So it's telling you that the top one is A, which is a 12mm. Obviously on this one it's there, A is telling you now it's a 14mm. It does make sense because you've got the bigger sort of tube in there and the smaller one there, so that would be a smaller one. So that's that sorted out. And on this one it's basically just part G refers to a bearing, and then over here it refers to an O-ring. So it's all updated there. So nothing that if you know what you're doing you're going to sort of like struggle with it on there anyway. The lithium grease, I put a little bit on there. It does help them to stay in, stops them from falling out. The only thing to take note of, obviously if you're not familiar with the modern cars, the pills as they're going in, so what you've got to make sure of is you get these in the right mount. So mount A on the front is what bolts onto the front. B mount is on the back, so your B mount here. And obviously the only other thing you've got to remember is that your pills will be that way on one side, and then you've got to flip it 180 degrees onto the other side, because obviously if the hole was over to the left, that one would be over to the left, whereas obviously on the other side it wants to be over to the right. So just, if you haven't built it before, I mean, I'm probably teaching people to suck eggs here, but this is for people that haven't built them. I've not built many, and I did have to sort of like think, right, that's upside down, yeah, that makes sense. But other than that, it's going together absolutely fine. So we've got all the arms, the hubs, the drive shafts in. Obviously there's differences between the drive shafts for the dirt spec and the pro spec. And then it ends up bag C, just doing your anti-roll bar mounts or arms, whatever you want to call them. And then we're moving on to bag D, so that's where we're at the moment. I am doing this as kit, so all the pills I'm going in as and when and whatever it stipulates, and that also amounts to the rear hub. So the rear hub, you've got a pill that goes into the rear hub, so you can basically mount the rear hub above and then coming down center, or have it drop down. So obviously that's going to alter the droop and everything. It does explain in here that if you're adjusting that, you've also got to adjust the shop ball cup half of a rotation to compensate. I've done mine how the kit tells you. It doesn't specify one in here to use, but we've got 3 with the hole at the top, so that's what I've done. So that's like, that gives it a low hub. So that's just what I'm building it as, and its first run will be as it is. But yeah, so we're moving on to bag D. I think it's the final bag now as well, bag D. So I'll crack on. But yeah, absolutely loving the build so far. I do like the, I like, it'd be nice if they did this in the old style purple. That would have been good. But it's not. So that's where we're at the moment. So I'll crack on and we'll jump back in once the next bag's done. Right, she's all done. So now it's all built. It does look a lot better. So this is as per the kit instructions. So it's all done as the kit says. I need to address the back because for some reason, it's probably not going to show, but I've got a lot of positive camber. So I don't think I've got any of the tie rods on wrong because the fronts look fine. And I'm pretty sure I built this as per the instructions, but it's not an issue, we can sort that out. It was basically just making sure that it's all built. And yeah, loving it. So obviously we've got the gear diffs in there. It's the same oil all round, and it's got the slipper, and this is the forward brake assist, whatever I can't remember what it's called now. But it's all just set up, so the slipper's been set as per the manual as well as this. And to adjust this front part, it looks like you've actually just got to take this out, take the drive shaft out, and then there's like a little bolt that goes through an Allen bolt, and it's got some thrust bearings on it. And that's the other thing, those thrust bearings, they're loose, they're not like a caged one like we all get. It won't show up, but the servo, it sits at an angle, and I was a little bit thrown off at first. So it sits higher up at this end, it sort of slopes down. I was thinking, I've done something wrong, what have I done wrong? Because obviously this bit is higher up than that, but that's how it's meant to be, because when you look at the bottom of the actual servo mounts, they're at an angle, they're not flat, they're slightly down, so it is how it's meant to be. But yeah, I've just got to get the electrics in, but this is as far as I'm going to go with the build for now, and then I'll spend a weekend giving it a once over, get the electrics in, have a look at the setup and see if it's all, get this back end sorted. But yeah, that's it. Absolutely lovely build. And yeah, it's the first shaft drive from Schumacher. It tells you to build a lot of rear camber on the back. So I'll run it as the kit says to begin with, but we'll probably be changing some of the setups. I'll have a look in the instruction manual, but I'll be using the instruction manual to get the setup on this for our carpet. So the tyres I may change over, I may order a set because these have a habit of wearing quite quickly. But that's it, just a quick little update on it. Absolutely love this, can't wait to run it, have a break from the vintage stuff and run something that's completely different to me. But if you've any questions, give us a message down below and I'll see if I can't help you out. But I didn't have any further issues in the build, everything went along nicely. Yeah, there was nothing else to think about. The motor, so it sits in a little, you loosen this and then the motor goes through. It's actually got a little marker on here. So once you've got it sort of like set to where your meshing is, you'll probably be able to sort of like get it bang on. But it's not a case of like if you go down a tooth, you move it in one. You've still got to set the meshing up yourself. But it's got the 3-pad slipper. So obviously we're only running 13.5. We're in there 13.5 turn, and we are running Blinky on this. So is the slipper necessary? I don't know, but it's in there, and I'm not going to buy the slipper delete, which I know you can get. I've been looking at some of the hop-ups, and I'm not going to jump out buy hop-ups because they're not really needed for me. But hey, it's me at the end of the day. I'll probably end up buying something, but it'll purely just be for the sake of buying something. But that's it, I'll stop waffling. Hope you've all enjoyed the video. Let us know what you think, and in a month's time we'll see it out for its maiden run. Cheers for watching and see you on the next one.